In a lead up to Death Stranding 2 on the beach, I've been revisiting the original game released back in November 2019, and boy, no one knew just how much Death Stranding understood the world we were about to enter. I remember the anticipation leading up to Death Stranding's release. It was Hideo Kojima's first game after his departure from Konami, and the game was shrouded in this mystery, filled with cryptic trailers and a star-studded cast, but then it finally came out, and to my surprise, it received a fairly mixed reception at the time. For me, Death Stranding is a game unlike anything I've ever played before. It's a strange, often solitary experience, traversing these vast, desolate landscapes, planning routes, delivering packages, and slowly, painstakingly reconnecting this fractured world. While many initially dismiss Death Stranding's gameplay loop as just being a walking simulator, it generally feels so incredibly relaxing and cathartic whenever I play it. And although this game is nothing like the Metal Gear series, I really appreciate Kojima's unique vision of Death Stranding's deliberate pace. It's a game that asks you to really take your time. But it also has an undeniable focus on the importance of finding connection in an isolated world, which is what inspired me to make this video today. I started thinking about how uncanny the time of Death Stranding's release was, considering the global pandemic and isolation that we all went through only a few short months later. As I mentioned earlier, Death Stranding was released in November 2019, and in hindsight, it was almost prolific in nature, holding up a mirror to the world we will all be entering back in 2020. As we all went into lockdowns, practiced social distancing, and experienced this new reality of remote existing, this game, about forming bonds in a world where people are isolated, suddenly felt a hell of a lot more relatable. It reflected the anxieties and desire of connection that defined the pandemic era, and it felt eerily crafted as an interactive experience that perfectly encapsulated the human condition in a world suddenly grappling with the separation and isolation of the pandemic. But let's slow it down here for a sec, and really provide a little context on how the Death Stranding experience felt like this uncanny parallel to reality. For those who haven't played before, Death Stranding is set in a post-apocalyptic America, a landscape that has been ravaged by a mysterious event known as, well, the Death Stranding. This cataclysmic phenomenon blurred the line between the living and the dead, causing spectral entities known as beach things or BTs to roam the land, triggering destructive voidouts that obliterate anything and everything in their path. Humanity has been forced to retreat into isolation, underground bunkers, and scattered self-efficient cities. Their former connections severed, their society fragmented. The very act of venturing outside is tremendously dangerous, making travel and communication almost impossible. In this new reality, you play as Sam Porter Bridges, portrayed by Norman Reedus, a legendary porter with a unique ability to repatriate from the land of the dead. You are tasked with a colossal mission to traverse the dangerous fragmented landscape from the east coast to the west to reconnect surviving settlements. This isn't about delivering cargo, it's about literally building bridges, establishing a chiral network, which is basically a futuristic internet that will bring humanity back together, fostering communication, trade, and a sense of shared purpose. Sure, Death Stranding is a game about managing logistics as well as weight and balance, or navigating unforgiving terrain, but its subtext is much more than that. It's about the very act of reaching out, of extending a hand and understanding that strength comes from unity, not isolation. What truly hooked me in with Death Stranding is how it goes about exploring making connections in an isolated world, not just through its narrative, but through its gameplay mechanics as well. Your isolation is highlighted by spending many of your hours in the game alone, navigating vast empty stretches of land. You'll climb mountains, cross rivers, and brave the timefall rain, which rapidly ages anything it touches. It's a harsh journey in a profoundly empty world, yet despite the prominent sense of solitude, you never truly are alone. This is where the game's ingenious social strand system comes into play. It's kind of an asynchronous multiplayer experience, meaning you never directly encounter another player in your world. There are no co-op missions and there is no direct communications, yet their presence is felt everywhere around you. You might stumble upon a ladder left by another player to help you cross a river, or a strategically placed rope that makes a steep descent much easier. You might come across a sign that warns you of BTs ahead, or a positive sign that tells you to keep on keeping on. You can also engage in this indirect communication too by leaving your own structures like bridges, safe houses, or charging stations for others to use. These aren't direct interactions, but more like echoes of other players' journeys, small acts of kindness and foresight that ripple across the chiral network. This system creates this incredible sense of community and cooperation, that feeling that each player is embarking on their own journey together, despite never directly meeting one another. It's a shared struggle and a collective effort to rebuild the world we all exist in. You're not just playing your own game, you're contributing to a vast, invisible infrastructure that benefits everyone. And in a way, it really reminds me of a time not too long ago that despite being confined to isolation of our own homes, we still found a way to connect with each other and support one another. As social gatherings and regular everyday interactivity started to wither away, we all turned to other forms of communication online as an alternative, like messaging, Zoom, gaming, and social media. And in a way, the social strand system in Death Stranding really reminded me of the reliance we all had on finding alternative methods of communicating with each other. This is exactly why I feel like Death Stranding couldn't have come out at a better time. When the pandemic hit and the lockdowns became the new norm, the world of Death Stranding suddenly felt a lot less like a fantastical dystopia and more like a reflection of our own lives. In a way, we were all sand-ported bridges, experiencing isolation, navigating this new lifestyle that kept us indoors, our homes turning into our bunkers. The fear of proximity, the sudden and overwhelming reliance of deliveries for basically everything and anything, coupled with the crucial importance of essential workers who continue to work in the outside world. It's been super strange and almost surreal to be playing through this game with the hindsight and first-hand experience of not only just lived through a pandemic just a couple of years ago. For me, Death Stranding is an absolute masterpiece of a game. It's a game that despite its quirks, delivers a message that despite being plunged into a world of isolation, the human spirit's desire to connect, rebuild and help one another will always prevail. It was really nice to be reminded that every small act of kindness, every shared burden, every bridge built, all contributes to a greater sense of connectivity and belonging. Of course I love Death Stranding for its unique vision, stunning visuals and its memorable cast of characters. But I also love how it unintentionally held up a mirror to the time and world we lived in that suddenly felt very much like the world we were playing through. Death Stranding provides a lens that helped to understand our shared global experience, while providing a hopeful vision of how we might overcome it by showing the importance of connecting with one another in an incredibly isolated world.